What's up, guys? Chad here with the Reptile Rangers. Now, we're at the Kernersville Reptile Zoo and Medical Center again today, and we're going to talk about common reptile problems, episode number 6. All right, now, we've done 5 previous episodes of just common issues that people run into as reptilian pet owners. Sometimes it's not really major issues, it's just common problems. And a lot of the times the common problems are easily avoidable with the right information. So that's what we're doing through this Common Reptile Problems episode series, is actually just trying to point out the common things that can happen and the ways to avoid having to deal with those. Now, before we get into that, right in that corner, right down there, is our subscriber button. Make sure you hit that. And for those that already have, we appreciate you doing so and following along week after week after week. Let's get right into this. All right, so Common Reptile Problems episode number 6 is belly burns, okay? Now, it almost goes without saying that belly burns obviously is going to be caused from things like these. Heat pads. A lot of stores constantly push, and even people online, oh, you got to have the belly heat, got to have the belly heat. You need the heat pads. No, you don't, fool. They don't have belly pads in the wild. They have the sun. Now, the sun can heat up rocks and can heat up surfaces, but it's not the same thing as having an actual electric belly source with no climate controllability. All right, now I'm going to get into this as to kind of how this works. And am I saying that these are bad? No, absolutely not. They can be useful and they can be extra help, especially in the wintertime if you don't have sufficient heat over the top, or you're just getting tired of buying bulb after bulb after bulb trying to figure it out. Having a bulb that gets your atmosphere stable and then having this as a little bit of a belly heat will just add a little extra hot spot to your atmosphere or to your ecosystem. Now, again, generally speaking, if you have the right kind of heat source, heat lamp, you absolutely do not have to have any kind of belly heat like this. We don't use belly heat in any of the enclosures that we have. When it comes to like a breeding situation, something like that in tubs, yeah, that's the only way obviously you can do that, so belly heat is necessary. However, when you're using things like these guys do come with a somewhat built-in thermostat that keeps them from getting too hot, but it doesn't take too terribly long before they go bad. There's a lot of issues that can come with these. These things will actually start catching on fire. They'll char. They'll start burning and charring in the middle, just like these, when the internal thermostats go bad, as well as they can overheat. When the thermostat goes bad, it'll just continue to heat and heat and heat and heat and heat, which causes a hot surface or hotter than should be surface. So it's always a good idea to have an external thermostat, kind of like this right here, that the probe of the thermostat is still attached to this, and if this thermostat that built into this thing goes bad, then this thermostat will continue to kick up the heat on and off. But belly burns themselves, kind of like these right here, you'll see reddening of the belly, you could see pinking of the belly, you could even see shriveled up if it gets bad enough, if it was burned bad enough, or they set on the heat source for long enough, then it can actually create that wrinkling, raw meat burning effect. Now, dealing with that, there's several ways in which you can deal with that. I'm not really going to get into how to deal with actual belly burns. This is just kind of pre-doing and keeping the belly burns from happening. And this is not so much how to treat. This is just a common reptile problem and can be a common reptile problem in reptiles, especially snakes. Almost primarily when I start talking about this, it's generally snakes because they have this heat pad in a tank that's about like this. So over a good portion of the bottom of the tank is going to be super hot, or the snake, maybe it's one of these inside of a decent sized tank, but the snake wants to stay on it all the time. And understand that these reptiles don't feel pain the same way you and I do. That's why they can get on these and it causes third-degree burns and they never move. They don't feel pain the same way you and I do. So we have to monitor and make sure that we're not putting them in a situation that would cause that particular burning. If the surface is hot and they have no way to get away from it, or it's too much heat, remember, in the wild, if they start getting warm enough, they'll go away from that. And yes, can they burn themselves on asphalt, concrete, rocks, things like that? Yeah, and it does happen from time to time. But they're not stuck on it all the time. They choose to sit there. Sometimes they just sit there just a little bit too long. But once it starts getting a little bit too hot, then they will automatically move off of it. So understand that when we start talking about a common reptile problem, these heat pads are just really never a good idea. I don't like them. They were originally thought of as a great help and an extra help when it comes to just heating the surface a little bit, giving a little bit of extra heat to the surface for belly heat for processing food, which is primarily what that's for. But if you have, again, if you have the right kind of heat lamp, you don't need these kind of heat sources, and these just cause too many problems. They catch on fire. They can catch tables and dressers and stuff on fire. They can crack your glass. They start getting too hot, and it'll break the bottoms of the aquariums. Of course, now you have glass shards. You have the possibility of escape, depending on if it's sitting on something that's elevated and that glass breaks out from underneath. Your snake will escape, or the lizard, whatever the case may be. So, like I said, these are just, I'm not a big fan of them. Never have been. Heat rocks are the world's worst. Those should have been thrown out the door years and years and years ago. That's been a proven fact that those will short circuit heat and cause a lot of belly burns. A lot of iguanas were getting belly burns, and bearded dragons were getting those belly burns. And so understand that a lot of these electric sources like this, if you're going to use these, you absolutely need to have an external thermostat source to help regulate the temperatures that these get up to. So that way, if you're just doing a plug and play and you just plug this straight in, you just attach it to the bottom, eventually this is going to get way too hot for that animal. And if there's not a good barrier between the two, then of course belly burn can start to set in. All right. Now, we hope this has been helpful. This is Common Reptile Problems, episode number 6, belly burns, typically speaking, due to heat pads. All right. Now, we appreciate you coming along and following along. Make sure to write us in. Let us know of other things that you want us to film about. Feel free to get with us in the information in the description below. It will be our information. If you have any questions, need any help with anything, happy to help out. Now, also, don't forget about our TikTok channel entitled Reptile Rangers as well. Also, the Instagram under Kernersville Reptile Zoo. Again, we appreciate you following along. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, like button, a bell for notification. It'll notify you every time we put up a new video. We try and do it twice a week. Thursdays and Sundays is typically when we try and get them up. And we appreciate your guys' support and following along with us video after video. And we hope that these make life easier when it comes to being a reptile pet owner. All right. Now, we'll either see you here at the zoo or we'll see you on the next episode. Later.